Michael, thank you so much for being part of our show. And I have been a fan of yours, I think, forever. So
Well,
there.
that's very kind of you to say, and that's been a long, long time.
I appreciate a lot of the things that you have done, like the voice work, because that's one of my passions. My aunt was June Foray, the voice actress.
Oh, wow.
And so when I hear your voice, like in the Batman stuff and all of that, I just, like I said, you do great work.
Well, that's very kind of you. I haven't done as much of that as I would have enjoyed. It just, most of my work has been on camera. Not that I wouldn't enjoy that sort of thing, but it just, I don't know. I've, to be honest with you, voiceover people keep asking me to do auditions, and I go, oh, that's not acting. I mean, they're just looking for a voice, not an actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're-
but
So
there are
I
those
rarely
moments,
even,
though.
well, I rarely even do the auditions then. I think, oh, they're going to pick one out of 500 voices, and yeah, it's like, what's the point?
Do you miss being on stage? That
Yes and no. Periodically over the past couple of years, Meredith Baxter and I have gone out and done a show called Love Letters, which is a two-character piece, and we've done it at a number of theaters in the South, in the Eastern Seaboard, and we'd like to continue that when theater is allowed again in these COVID times. I do miss the immediacy of the audience. I love working with somebody live on stage. And, but having said that, I don't miss the routine of doing 8 shows a week for weeks on end. I never liked long runs. I've been on Broadway on a couple occasions, and my longest run was probably out of choice, was probably about 5 months. That was all I wanted to do. That was enough. I love my I love my my Friday night evenings with friends and Saturday night evenings with friends instead of having to work in front of an audience. So in that respect, I don't miss that aspect of theater. The other thing is I enjoy the act of creation more than I enjoy the act of recreation, which of course is what presenting a play 8 times in front of an audience, 8 times per week in front of an audience is recreating what you've done. And I always inherently, I think, enjoy the act of exploring and creation rather than recreation. Once you set, the show is never the same from one night to another, just because of the inspiration someone brings to it every evening. But I just inherently enjoy the rehearsals, I think, more than performances.
I remember talking one time to Liam Neeson, who told me if he could just do table reads and be paid just to do the table reads, he would just do that.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, yeah. Well, the analogy I've always used is, I mean, let's say you'll do hundreds of performances as a, and my, on stage over a period of months. And my analogy always was, well, if I were a carver, a stone cutter, doing a great cathedral in France, I'd say, okay, I'm going to do one gargoyle. Would somebody else please do the other 49 and just copy what I've done? Because I love doing the gargoyle, but I don't want to repeat myself 39 times,
Yeah.
But I have and do with discipline and enjoy it while I'm doing it. It's not my preference. It was almost all I did for years on end before the days of Family Ties. And I've gone back and forth periodically and still do it. I love the audience. It's a trade-off because I don't like losing my Friday and Saturday nights. I'm getting to the point where I love just hanging out with friends.
Speaking of Family Ties, television brings to it, you have the same character, but you're exploring different parts of that character every week.
Right. That's quite true. And I've also realized I think I'm a day person. I'm more comfortable with being in a makeup chair at 5:30 or 6 in the morning than I am getting up from a dinner table and going to a theater at half hour at 7:30 and saying, I'm going to be at my best at 8 o'clock tonight. Yeah. I like not saving myself for 8 o'clock at night. I love, and you need a certain discipline. When I'm doing theater, a lot of times I'll nap in the afternoon just to make sure I've got that extra little spark of energy in the evenings.
You were America's dad for a while.
Well, Cosby was America's dad. I was America's most famous Caucasian father.
There you go.
We were Cosby was number one, and we were frankly number two or three in many cases. And so now, of course, by default, all these other fathers have fallen away out of regard or disrespect. And so I guess I'm the longest running father who still has
you're the one left standing, so to speak.
Some credibility. Yeah, exactly.
What an incredible cast you had in Family Ties.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody was so well suited for what they did. Michael J. Fox, of course. Meredith Baxter was extraordinary. Justine Bateman, Tina Yothers, the whole gang. And I ultimately lay it all at the feet of the writers. You know, we don't make that stuff up. People will come up to me and say, "Oh, wow, I learned to be a father through you." I said, "You should have spoken to the writers. They had the secrets. I was just interpreting it. I was just mouthing their wonderful words." So I give all the credit to our late executive producer, Gary David Goldberg, and the wonderful writers on that show.
Yeah, but I mean, circling back after 40 years, I mean, it's still relevant today because of the political schisms that we have and the arguments within families.
You're absolutely right. I say time and again now, Family Ties is I used to think the title was extremely generic and actually sort of boring. And then I realized, no, that there are so many things that tend to divide us, that those ties are really important. We differed so greatly in our outlook on the world, the parents and the children in this case, particularly, you know, the ultra conservative child.
Mm-hmm.
But yet love held us together. Nobody went to bed without dinner because of their political views. Nobody was ostracized.
Yeah.
The things that held us together were stronger than the things that pulled us apart. And I do wish politics weren't such a bloody sport right now.
Yeah.
In that respect, because compromise is the only way to get things done. It seems to me, I understand when people are married. When I see somebody who's been married 3 or 4 times, I think, okay, they're not a compromiser. Obviously, it's my way or the highway. Politics is the art of compromise. When you lose that, it's war.
Yeah.
When you forget how to compromise. And so a marriage won't survive, and I don't think a political system can survive sufficiently without good compromise.
Which is why that show is so beloved, because it's so layered in that, and it reflects a wish, pretty much.
I think it does. People would ask me time and again why they thought it was such a popular show, and I would say because America's families are doing so badly. They need a model. We know that 1 out of 3 marriages usually ends in divorce. That statistic still holds, and people are looking for an intact family. I'm going to segue to Tremors right now and say, in its own way, I think it's extremely family friendly, because this is a case in seven movies where Burt Gummer, for all his weaponry, has never turned his gun on another human being. And that's one of the things I think makes Tremors extremely family friendly. Burt has never knowingly turned his gun on another human being. And by God, he's always had a gun, but they were always for the monsters. And what I love too is these films constantly, the 7th included, are a disparate group of human beings who are so unlikely to be together and doing anything under any given circumstances, and yet they band together to deal with a common enemy. Call it the COVID-19 if you want, but we come together to deal with these creatures who are not like us and who want to take us down. And we find a way to band together, as crazily different as we are, and say, we're not going to fight each other for a few moments. We're going to fight a common enemy.
It's glorious in its reluctancy with its characters, because people don't want to fight, and yet they're forced to, and they're forced to get along with each other over a common enemy.
Right. And therein lies, I think, again, some wonderful lessons for today in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is 7 films and a TV series, and when I saw the first one in 1990, I turned to my friend Cameron, who is a screenwriter now. And I said, this is the very first time I think that I've seen films where the survival nut is absolutely right.
Right. They created a marvelous character. And this is frankly why I keep coming back.
Yeah.
Why I am, in fact, the survivor of these 7 films. People say, did you want to be the star? I said, no, I always saw myself as an ancillary character, but everybody else kept dropping off. Kevin didn't want to do the second one. After the second one, Fred didn't want to. Reba never wanted to do another. And they would say, we've written another Burt Gummer role. Are you interested? I said, of course I am.
Yeah.
Because Burt Gummer is Burt Gummer. I never wanted to be the center of attention. I always felt that, like, to make another transition to television, that the Fonzie, Arthur Fonzarelli, always was most interesting because he, in juxtaposition to the normal Cunningham family, to the normal human beings out there, and here was this weird creature who walked into their living room, and I felt Burt always worked well when surrounded by normal human beings, whatever that means.
I look at Burt as Quint in Jaws.
Yes, I think that's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. That movie scared me so much. The woman who was sitting next to me at that movie when I saw it years ago knocked a contact lens right out of my eye when she grabbed me. I never did find it. It ended up on the floor of wherever it was. Yeah, that was frightening. And that's a perfect analogy. Burt has the expertise, the scientific, the scientific expertise, the knowledge, what can and what can't be done, and it's always great seeing the great irony of his being prepared for one thing, and of course something totally different has evolved. It's the story of his life. Over prepared, and then it's never quite enough.
How does it feel to be celebrating 30 years of Burt Gummer?
Most unusual indeed. It's the gift that keeps giving. Nobody ever thinks anything's going to last that period of time. No actor imagines that sort of thing. One of the reasons he's been wonderful is I haven't had to do him every day. Again, it's not like doing theater every day or doing a series for 30 years. I do him periodically, every couple of years. The longest being about 11 or 12 years between Tremors 4 and Tremors 5, and now every couple of years. So it's great I never get tired of him because I'm merely revisiting him. I'm not bored to death with it because it's fun going back to see him again after a couple of years.
And for you, is it like a family reunion with Burt?
It is. I've grown to feel very much an advocate for the man. I feel that part of the reason, like his lawyer, I'm there to defend him. I'm there to defend the franchise to the degree I can. I don't win every argument there is because it's a new and rebuilt franchise in many ways. The original writers are not there. The brilliant original writers, Steve Wilson Steve Wilson and Brent Maddock, and we've had new writers, new directors, all of whom have, I think, done a marvelous job in reinventing it. But I feel I have to be there, stick up for Burt in a funny way, to say, no, Burt wouldn't do that, or help polish Burt's dialogue, his point of view, the way he looks at the world, because it's a quirky thing to start with, and Burt is certainly the quirkiest character out of a very, very quirky ensemble.
Is Burt really running for president?
No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm not trying to take votes away from everybody. We're just having a good time. I'm old enough to remember a time many, many years ago, and I forget what the show was, where comedian Pat Paulson was running.
The Smothers Brothers show.
Yeah, the Smothers Brothers, exactly. And so we thought of this because I can't tell you how many people over time have said, boy, if Burt ran for president, I'd vote for him. And so we started talking about this idea as we were finishing our filming last year. And there are now 8 recorded episodes of Burt Burt Gummer on the stump, which we will periodically see up until the time of the election. So we had a good time. I was allowed to write the majority of these just because it was my goofy idea anyway. And Burt's take on the world, including the fact that he was going to run the country for 4 years from a hidden underground bunker. You know, he was not going to Washington. No way. He's going to run the country by himself without a cabinet, take care of everything.
How enticing that really feels to me right now.
I know.
On the many episodes of television, from How I Met Your Mother to Criminal Minds, and you know all those things that you have done, Boston Legal, you are just wonderful to see on screen. I'm gushing because I am a fan.
Oh, you're very kind. I really appreciate that. You know, there are a lot of people who will come up to me, oddly enough, women, who will see some of these Law and Order things and say, "You were such a wonderful creep." And then I say, maybe you should check your choice of men. You have an attraction to the wrong kind of man if you're applauding me for that. But I've played some weird psychopathic characters over the year, and it's I must tell you, it's one of the things I've enjoyed the most is the variety of things. I never wanted to be a TV. I wanted to be a working character actor who went from one thing to another with a great variety of things. And it's one of the reasons you haven't seen me on another series as a recurring character. Yes, as Noah Wiley's father in ER, or some, you know, this or that or the other thing, a recurring character. But I love the variety of the change up that happens with playing many different characters over time. Maybe that's the theater background, repertory theater, you know.
There's that love that you have for involving yourself in a character.
Well, yes, people will often ask me what my favorite character is, my favorite other actors, and I say one of the greatest compliments you can give an actor when he walks out the stage door is not to recognize him. Was that you playing that? Oh my God. That kind of thing. People who immerse themselves in a character, if you will. The Dustin Hoffmans of this world, you know, the Tootsies and the marvelous work he's done over time. That kind of thing, immersing yourself into a character as opposed to twisting the character out of shape to suit you. I'm no more like Burt Gummer than I was like Stephen Keaton. There's a bit of me in all of that, but that's what I love. Burt is a thorough immersion into an extreme sort of character, and that's been a great deal of fun.
In our final moments together, I was interviewing Richard Jenkins, and he said,
"Oh yeah, Richard. I've worked with Richard. Wonderful."
People stop him and think he's you. He gets compliments for being on Family Ties. So I was gonna ask you.
I'm never mistaken for Richard Jenkins. Occasionally, Alan Alda. People will think Alan Alda.
I was gonna ask you, who do you get mistaken for?
Yeah, occasionally Alan Alda. But Richard's wonderful. I worked with him years ago in a film I did in which I starred. It was something called The FBI Murders. And I, with David Soul, and I played this murderous pair based on a true story. Richard Jenkins was a detective who interviewed me in one scene in that thing. And I worked with Richard that afternoon, and I thought to myself, this guy's got something. He's really good. He's a wonderful actor. And fortunately, he got that fascinating break where he could go into very, very different things. And I applaud him for it because he's a lovely actor. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being part of our day today, and how much I appreciate your time. I know you're late for the guy in Vegas. Jeff Howard is my best friend.
Good. Great.
So apologize for me to him that I kept you a little late.
Great. Thank you very much.
Michael, thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
This celebrity interview is sponsored by...
I'm Annette Civarella with Pia Anderson Moss Hoyt, Utah's leading entertainment law firm, serving clients nationwide. We provide solid, attentive representation focusing on minimizing risk, reducing cost, and protecting the reputation and privacy of our clients. Our goal is to provide you with the legal representation you need to make the right decisions and to protect you and your creative works. Call or email me for a free consultation.